Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Thursday, February 29th. This will be our chart lesson for the day. Real quickly, just a reminder, no mid-morning chart tomorrow, and I'll be out of the office all day tomorrow. So please hold your emails until I get back. I'll be back in the office Monday regular, but I'm taking a 3-day weekend, taking a little trip with my family here. So I'll be out completely tomorrow. I'm leaving town tonight, so I'm rushing to get this done and get out of here as well. But you can see the daily chart, mostly up. I mean, it's rare that we get 2 days in a row down lately. It seems like this thing just wants to go up. We are backing off those highs somewhat, but it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, usually this thing at the last minute will run up, so we could run back up and close higher. We'll just have to see what happens. But regardless, it looks like we're probably going to close up today. It looks like there's still maybe 35, 40 minutes left in the trading day. So anything could happen. We could back way off here, or we could close higher. So uh, we are trying to work lower, it appears now. So we'll just have to see. But we're not worried about what's going on now. We're worried about what happened during the day. And but here's a look at it on the daily chart. Let's flip over to the 2000 TIG chart and go through the trades, and we'll wrap this day and week up, and I'll see you again on Monday. Okay, here we are. It's mostly, I mean, this is a pretty big range, although it's mostly I would call a range. We had an uptrend, and then guess what? I talked about we'd probably come back and try to, or I didn't say probably, but I said there's a good chance prices will try to fill that gap. They always try to fill it as fast as they can, and you can see we clearly got two legs down that filled that gap. They didn't quite get there. The buyers got a little antsy and nobody wanted to get left out. It rocketed up. I mean, smart traders know what's going on here. They know prices are coming back and trying to fill this gap. And they start buying, and a lot of them will just buy blindly, um, trying to get in to make sure they don't miss it, trying to get the best price, and next thing you know, it's rocketing up. And the rest of them start piling in, and next thing you know, you got a trend up. But that's all this was a correction back to fill that gap. Prices closed here yesterday, and they opened here today. And generally, they don't like those gaps. So let's look at this measured leg here. Looks like it's maybe from actually here. And we still went a little further. And then I talked about the possibility we'd have, if we made a high or low here at some point. Earlier I was starting from here, but we ended up going lower. But this was the low point, and so you look for a measured move based on this first leg up, and you start it right here where this low was, and you can see we went a little further again. This was a pretty strong sell-off, and this was a pretty strong rally, so it ends up going a little bit further than you'd expect, and then look how it sells off instantly. So there it is. There's two legs down. There's two legs up, and in the middle there's a two-legged correction. And if you went to a bigger picture, it would look more like a leg up, two legs down, and a leg up. But that's what we're looking for. We're trying to figure out where prices are going. We're trying to get on board and go with them. And I talked about all this before 9:30 this morning, and have it in the midday chart. And so if you were paying attention, and if you listen, if you do get the midday chart and you read it, you knew what to semi expect. So this is not, once you've done this a long time, this is not rocket science. You'll see the market do this over and over and over. Now, how it gets to these points, that's the hard part. But you can pretty much figure out where it's going. And then you just got to time it right and get on board with it and go with it. So anyway, there was also a couple of news items at 7:30 this morning, and evidently they spiked this thing up because you can see it came in right there, and that's what started the rally. And of course, like always, within an hour or two, they've taken it all back and the market's reset. Never fails. I shouldn't say it never fails, but usually that's what's going to happen. So, but let's zoom in here, go through the trades. You had to be patient this morning because you couldn't take these trades, and there just wasn't any chance to get in this. there is a second entry here, but that's just so congested, and you got to go long right into that high, and you've already had a close outside of this and a new high. It looks like we got a new channel coming up, but you just have to be real careful with it. And you see we quickly got a break, a move to a new high, and then we're just working sideways. And finally it gives and turns down. But I don't see anything in here until we got a break here. Really on this bigger chart, this is a first entry. Let me zoom in here a little more. This is really hard to see. I'm sorry. You had a first entry when it broke above here, then it pulls back, makes a higher low, and you get a second entry when it breaks above this bar. I would have liked to have seen this come back to the EMA, but I mean, there's 5 ticks there, and it's a second entry long in a very bullish move where you're looking for prices to make a new high. I think you got to take that trade. And it doesn't give you another chance to enter. It just runs straight up, makes a new high, and then the next thing you know, it looks like we're going to try to turn down, and it's just moving sideways. At this point, there's still because we're moving sideways, there's still an upward bias to this thing. Here you got a triple test with a nice signal bar. Take that. Comes back, test the low again, take it again, as long as you got room to get out. And then finally it makes a high up here. It does push a little higher. It really doesn't push higher than this one, but it's higher than the last few. But it closes back in the range. Take that short and try to ride it back down to the other side. And maybe if you get lucky like it did here, it keeps going. Now there was a little breakout pullback short here, but one test is not enough. That does confirm that trend line. If there was enough room to scalp out there, I might say take that breakout pull back short. But most of these breakouts fail, which this one did fail. It comes back and retest. But usually you want to see it retest it more than once. But this thing was ready to go lower, and it took off. So unfortunately, you just don't have a lot of room there. And there's always a good chance it could bounce and give you a second leg. And you see there's only a point there. And you really want to see at least enough to scalp out. So unless you got in up here, you missed this move. If you got in up here, you might have still got a runner. It just depends on how you played it. And of course, you get a close outside new low, and then now you got a trend working back up again. And again, that's where I originally measured that second leg up, but it didn't follow through. It ends up going lower, and so then I move it to down here. And you saw it moved on up to a measured move. But no real chance to get long here. And then we're working sideways again. Nothing here I like, except it comes back down here, and there's already support there. So you can say you've really got a little double test, triple test right there, and a nice signal bar away from the EMA. And you would expect prices to try to make a new high anyway on this. So I like that trade. If it was right into the EMA and midline, I'd probably say sit tight. But with enough room there, take that trade. I marked it green because it's not a perfect, it's a little bit congested there, but you're just getting away from the EMA, and prices, the expectation is they're probably going to go back and retest this high. So I've noticed that a lot lately. They'll run stops and stop it and trap everybody out. That's all they did. They trapped anybody that got long early, they punished them here, and then it went straight where you thought it was going to go. So always wait on that higher low. I mean, technically this is not a higher low, but it is too, because it closes higher, as you can see. It's just a little trap's what it is, and it runs up. And now you got a triple test, but signal bar is not good enough. Comes back down, and you get another big bullish bar. And now you got a triple test, big bullish bar. I went back and forth whether or not to make this one blue. Because it didn't break above it on this bar, so it's kind of stuck at the EMA. But if it pushes through there, it'll probably go higher, and it's been running up and down. So your expectation is it's going to go back up. It doesn't end up doing that, but guess what? You still get just enough to scalp out. At least you do on my chart, and that's why we only go for 4 ticks, because some of these trades will only get 4 ticks. So that's a perfect 6-tick move, which gives you exactly what you need to scalp out with on 4 ticks. You get another bounce here, but it ends up This is your signal bar, 2 bears. This one's just an inside bar. It doesn't make an equal low. And of course, this one runs up there, but you still don't want to. You just got to follow the rules. Don't take it. And then we get up here and we turn down right off that key entry point again. That's not a perfect signal bar by any means, but again, it's 5 ticks. And look how many times we've tested that. There's plenty of room back to the midline, pretty much for the EMA too. You might have got a little better entry there. You could have if you tried. Let it break lower and drop your limit order a little closer, a little higher back in here and see if you can get a better entry, which you could have. Or you could have just played it normal and it would have dropped on down. Now there's a lower high here, but you'd have to enter that on the engulfing bar. Otherwise, there's just too much stem and it bounced right off that midline multiple times now. You can't go short below that. Drops down, you get a failed breakout. And this is a good example why you want a higher low, because it didn't go very far. I don't know if that would have, I don't think there's enough movement there to get out. Yeah, once again, you would have got your scalp, but that's it. But I don't like that trade. There's technically a trend line running down through there too. This is one of those multiple trend line ones. But here there's a little hidden second entry, and this actually breaks higher and fails and turns down. So that's going to trap people. And it is a hidden second entry. If you went to a slightly smaller chart, you'd see a leg up, a first entry, and a leg up, and then your second entry. And this one just takes off. I marked it green. It's a little aggressive to do that. And then, of course, we're working down here, and you get a close outside. This thing just reverses. So, you know, maybe the trend line's more like this. And you do get a close outside and you low here. So there's probably a bigger trend line. Doesn't matter. People were going to probably buy down here on the measured move regardless. So, so that you would have been wanting to look for a possible entry down here, but generally I'm going to want to see a break. I really wanted to see a close outside of that and then you low. And you see we attempted it but didn't make it. And then, so you make a double bottom, which counts a new low. And then you get a failure right here, which normally I wouldn't trade a failure here. But you still hadn't got back to the EMA, and there's plenty of room. And the odds are, if it breaks higher there, it's going to trap some shorts that we're trying to get short here on a second entry. Even though there's not a setup, not everybody follows the rules. You'll be surprised how many people will send me an email and say, why'd this second entry fail? And you look at the signal bar right there, and it's just, you know, it doesn't even fit. It's no entry there. It didn't fit the rules. But anyway, it goes higher. Quick, easy scalp. That's all you get out of that. And there's not really another chance. We come back and confirm that trend line here, but you can't go long with all that resistance right into that EMA there. Runs on up. Finally gets a break. And you get a first entry. It pulls back. And so when it breaks above that bar, it's a second entry. But that's an inside bar. And you'd really like to see it break lower first and then maybe go long above it. But that is a second entry when it breaks up because it makes a lower high right there. So that's a correction. Somebody asked me about a second entry, and this might have been it, but it looked similar to this, and they couldn't see where the second entry was. Well, it's a break above this bar because it makes a lower high than this. We made a high, and then we corrected here because we made, see that high, and then this one's lower, so that's a correction. Just like this is a correction. This one actually broke lower. This one just doesn't break lower, but it's still a correction. And so I don't like that second entry. But it runs up here, and you get a triple test. It does push higher, but notice you got the green. You get a break, couple legs up to a new high. You're away from the EMA. I like that one. I marked it green, but it's real close to being red. What you probably want to do is wait on your lower high, and you just don't get one here. Comes back down here and bounces, but again, no setup. There's no way to get in this all the way up. And then a bunch of people got fooled right here. Notice how we turned down. There's a channel here, and I don't know if most people didn't even have it drawn. But you see this green channel in here. I mean, it's obvious. And you get a first entry, and then you drop below it. And so you're going long with not much room to scalp out. Sideways congestion. It's not a good place to go long. it's not really 2 legs back. It doesn't even get back to the EMA. So, and that's after you've already got, well, you don't quite have 2 measured legs yet. You can see that one went to the tick to a measured leg and corrected, and you get 2 legs. So when it starts up, there's a good chance you're going to get another leg up. But anyway, there's no entry right there. I mean, you could risk it, but you see what's going to happen. You get stopped out. There's just no reason. It's just sideways, basically. And you're going sideways, and you get one bar that drops out, and there's not room to get out before you. Actually, before I tell you that, I'm just going to measure. But just looking at it, they don't like there's room. There's no way I would take that. Yeah, see, there's only 1 point back to the high there. So there's not room to even scalp out. Don't take that kind of trade, even if it is a second entry. Zoom in here a little more where you can see it. And of course, what does it do? It drops down to the main trend line and turns straight up. So, but that's just the first entry. It's a big bar. It's right back at the highs. You don't have room to scalp out. And guess what? It gets stuck there and comes back. And now it gives you a chance at a higher low here. So I like going long on that one because it's still affecting the trend line. It's you come back here and you get a first entry, and it turns and goes lower and then comes back again. So when it breaks above that bar, that's a second entry long. It's convoluted, and I don't even know if the indicator would count that. But once you get more experience, that's a second entry. And all the second entry is it broke higher once, went lower, and then broke higher again. You know, it's not an ideal perfect 2-leg back, but it is a second entry. And it's right at the key entry point with a huge bullish signal bar, reversal type bar. Even then it tried to scare people out, but look, it ends up creeping on up there. And so you keep running on. Even this one's tempting because you get a first entry. Well, it doesn't really break lower, but it makes a 2 little bar matching, so that's like a new high. But there's not room to get out there. If there was, I'd probably take that little bar at 3 ticks because there's hardly any risk on it at all. And you can clearly see the trend line is still holding there all the way up. You get a little bit of a close out there, outside right there, but it's not enough to really call that a convincing close outside. This one is convincing, and then it makes a new high, and you get the 2-legged correction. And again, you get a first entry and a second entry here, but you've already had a break and a new high. Now you're below the EMA here. So if anything, you might go short, but I don't like that signal bar. It's real small. It's only 5 ticks. And there is a triple test there as well. There's formal resistance there. But I just think that's too sideways. That one, see, it looks like 1 leg up in a correction, but I don't really see a second leg up. I mean, you might argue for it to be green, but it's just not. It's not an ideal trade. But you get your break, new high after 2 legs down, and now you're working higher. And this is a spike and goes into a channel here, and something happened to my channel. Something happened to my blue one too. I don't know what happened to these two. But you can see we even had an overshoot there. But you got a spike and channel up, but you also have a trend line here, the blue one, and this is just a spike and channel within that. So you got 2 different trend lines working up there. So anyway, you get a higher low here, but it's not where you can't enter there. It's too congested right into the EMA. But we jump above it. This looks like 2 legs back, but again, there's not room to scalp out. So just skip it, and then we're into 230, and it's too late. But you can see this thing just takes off, runs up here, gives a overshoot, and then we're rocketing lower. But they were just trying to reach this target, and man, they hit it fast, and then boom, and Now, probably not going to do much now. There's 20 minutes to close, but there it is. I mean, this is just mixed sideways trading, uh, but a much higher close at the end of the day, because yesterday we closed here and today we're going to close way up here. So it's still a bullish day. Um, a lot of ups and downs and sideways to get to that point, but there it is. But I need to get out of here, so I'm not going to beat around the bush. We're leaving town tonight. So I hope you had a good week. I hope you learned something. I tried to go into a bit more of actual teaching on this stuff. You know, I don't do these videos really to teach you how to do this. Really, it's just so you can compare your work to mine. That's why we do it. And so most of the information's on the website or in the manual or in the videos. So I don't, my thing is not to teach this on YouTube. It's to show you the trades and how you get to them. And so you can compare your work to mine as you continue to learn and do this. So that's really the purpose of this chart lesson. So it's not to show trades. Um, I mean, when I say trades, it's not to show trades I took. This is not necessarily, I mean, these are trades that set up that you using our strategy. Some of them I might have taken, some of them might not. I stopped talking about my trading. That's not what this is about. This is about showing you the strategy and how the setups are and describing them to you. And that's what this chart lesson's for. And so use it for that purpose, to learn. It's a learning purpose, but I'm not necessarily, I try to teach a little bit in here, but you don't have time to teach in videos, and that's not the purpose of them. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it Monday. I'm done for today. Have a great weekend. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.